Good evening. Welcome to Progressive Soup. My name is David Stevenson. I'm the host of the show, as you know. With me today, I've got good friend Al Robinson, who's been on this show 10, 12 times over the years at least. Our plan is to talk about race relations, but we're going to spend a little time in advance of that talking about the tragedy in Orlando that took place over the weekend and put that in the context of the marvelous gun legislation that was passed in Connecticut after the Newtown tragedy, which has been very successful in keeping gun homicides much lower since then. Al, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I love being on anytime I can.
You are now in first place again as of today. You are our number one guest. Thank you, Nina Mohajer, for being our second most prolific visitor. But Al, your perspective on what happened in Orlando over the weekend.
Let's go back in time a little bit.
Okay.
As you know, I've been a blogger, as they like to call us bloggers, a political blogger.
Well, a reporter who happens to do blogging as part of his political reporting.
A video blogger and all.
Yeah.
I started back in 2005 with my website, Connecticut Blog, that was created because of sites such as America Blog and Daily Kos.
Yes.
That inspired me a lot to stop talking amongst people and be active and put my stuff out in the public. As well as Daily Kos, Howard Dean was a big influence upon me, as well as a lot of progressive bloggers.
Right,
that we
in the
see
day,
nowadays.
that was called The Blog. The Dean for America blog was referred to as The Blog.
And it
was the prominent blog of that day.
And that started Marcus Miletus and all those other blogs.
Daily Kos, yep.
Daily Kos, and Democracy for America with Jim Dean and all that. That started a lot of the activism. And I wrote about stuff that was happening in the state of Connecticut, and then eventually I started writing about stuff that happened in Danbury, because in 2005, as you know, immigration suddenly became the forefront of everything.
It did.
And I did a lot of that political work, and I did a lot of blogging. I fought a lot of politicians, fought a lot of topics for a number of years. As you know, my wife passed several years ago from liver cancer, and I decided that it would be my family was more paramount than reporting.
You're a dad, and that's pretty important.
And that was the first when my wife passed on. I was like, maybe I should give this a break. But another thing that solidified and got to the point where I was like, hey, I really got to stop. This is just too much. Was the horrific, unbelievable, senseless killings in Sandy Hook. As several people know, but maybe not a lot of people know, that before Danbury, I lived in Sandy Hook. I lived a couple of miles away from that school. I drove by that school every single day to and from work. And I miss living in Sandy Hook every single day. I lived right there on Lake Zor. I had a nice little lake house, and it was the best time in my life. And when I heard about those killings, the senseless killings of those poor children in that school, it broke my heart. And to live report on that stuff, blogging and stuff, it really took a lot out of me. And because my daughter was in the first grade at the time, if I would have stayed in Sandy Hook, she would have probably been in that school. And it was just, it was horrific.
That's a little too close for comfort, and a lot of people, that's called empathy. Yeah. People can empathize with what happens to other people, at least hopefully most people can. Wish everybody could, but sometimes people don't.
Again, I mean, nowadays people, you have to remember at the time when we heard about this, like Sandy Hook, what? What are you talking about? Sandy Hook is a small little section of, it's a small section of Newtown.
Well, geographically it's pretty big, but it's a small portion of the population in Newtown.
And most people who heard of, like, something happened like that in Sandy Hook, you gotta be kidding me. And the details came out, and the horrific breakdown of everything that happened, it was hard to stomach. But the gun that was used in that killing, that senseless killing, was an AR-15 rifle.
That was the rifle of choice in Vietnam, I believe.
And it's like, it's pretty much
the same thing.
Why is that gun being sold in this country? It's not a gun of sport.
No.
Immediately I'm like, this is insane. It's absolutely outrageous. And what has happened is that there's been many other mass shootings since Sandy Hook, as horrific as it sounds, but there's been other mass shootings. It's just as grave and just as heartbreaking, but the common denominator is the AR-15 gun. It's an assault weapon, in my opinion. And most recently in Orlando, as of right now, 49 people lost their lives for no reason whatsoever. And the person who was questioned by the FBI 3 times was able to go in and purchase an AR-15 rifle. And when I'm saying like 49 people died, there's more people right now who are in critical condition who could pass away. And the countless numbers of people who are injured over this insane gun. And it makes no sense to me as a common layperson that we have this gun available to people.
Let's rewind to the 1930s, when the gun of choice for gangsters was the machine gun, the Tommy gun, the Thompson submachine gun. And that's outlawed. That was outlawed.
Yeah.
Our Congress outlawed that gun because its only purpose was a very dangerous and very evil one. What's the difference? That's what I'd like to know. Why was people that are gun enthusiasts, why was a corporation, a gun lobby like the NRA, why did they not block that? Why was that law passed in order to make the Thompson submachine gun, whose only purpose was to kill a lot of people quickly and to do a lot of harm and a lot of evil and a lot of mayhem? Why? Why that and not the AR-15? Why not the AK-47 also? That's not a sporting gun.
I don't see much difference between that gun and the AR-15.
Not much. No, they're both designed to kill a lot of people quickly.
We've had, as you know, the lobbying groups, the NRAs, what's the other group? NSSF, or the group that's in Newtown right now, the gun pro lobby group that's in Newtown for all intents and purposes. We're going to be there a little bit later this afternoon at their headquarters with a simple vigil to try to draw some attention to their insanity. Why is it that these groups are fighting against the banning of large capacity envelopes?
I don't understand it, and I hear a lot of rationales that are pretty much beyond. It's that slippery slope argument.
Well, it's not really a slippery slope. It's just that, look, in my opinion, the most important amendment is the First Amendment.
Well, their argument is a slippery slope argument.
Well, whatever.
Yeah, I don't think it carries any weight.
It carries zero weight.
It does.
Look, if you can not walk into a theater, if you can walk into a theater and scream fire and be arrested on the spot, you should. I mean, look, you should not be on a terrorist watch list. As if you're on a terrorist watch list, you should not be able to purchase a high capacity rifle.
Absolutely.
If you're picked up and questioned 3 times from the FBI, you should not be able to walk in and purchase a gun. If you are able to purchase, you can be able to purchase a gun. I get you. You can be able to purchase a gun, but you know what? The FBI should be able to get a heads up on that. Say, hey, look, the person you just questioned 3 times on terrorist-related things just purchased an AR-15. You might want to keep an eye on that guy a little bit. Yeah. If you want to use the Patriot Act, you might want to use the Patriot Act on that guy a little bit. Just keep your eyes on that guy. He might do something bad. And what happens? Innocent people. And you make the point that if somebody's going to own a gun, why does it have to be a gun that you can kill, in the case of Newtown, 26 people in less than 3 minutes with a minimum of 3 bullet holes in each victim? Yes.
He just basically sprayed bullets. He didn't have to have any skill in shooting even.
The events of Newtown still is hard for me to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's just common sense here. We have to have some common sense. And when you have people who are fighting against sensible gun control, this goes back to the Brady Bill. This goes way back, this fight against gun control. It doesn't make any sense to be able to walk into a place, even if you're on a terrorist watch list, you can get an AR-15. You can get any gun you want. It's just, this guy was disturbed by all accounts. And he was not only disturbed, but he was disturbed so much that he was questioned by the FBI. Not once, not twice, but several times. And he's able to do this. There's been several other mass shootings. San Bernardino, Aurora, I think I want to make sure I say that term
Colorado,
right, in which this gun has been used. Why can we not have a ban in this country on assault rifles?
Do you mind if I bring religion into this for a second?
Well, I mean, let me just finish my point here, because religion, in my opinion, doesn't have a lot to do with this. It's just, you were just strictly talking about restricting certain guns from being used. Yeah. Because as you know, I'm on the internet a lot, and I do a lot. Both of my commentary and stuff is done on the internet, my websites, and the commentary I do on the News Times website. There are people who posted videos who are at the scene, who were posting videos of what was going on. You could hear the gunshots, pop, 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 pop. Now, if you're hunting deer or something like that, you're not going to use the gun and go pop, 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 pop. No, you're not doing that.
Because the deer would be in half and not inedible.
Inedible. It makes no sense that we are allowing this gun, which can be easily modified to be a really weapon of mass destruction, to be allowed to be sold in this manner. And it drives me nuts when we have representatives in this area of all areas, Greater Danbury, which consists of Newtown, when you have individuals such as Dan Carter, who's our state rep, voting against sensible gun control that was passed in the state of Connecticut. And again, I don't think the state of Connecticut went far enough, but it's sensible, it's a first step, and it's not infringing on anybody's rights. But when you have people like Dan Carter, who represents the 2nd District, which covers a portion of Newtown.
He had a portion in Newtown, certainly, yeah.
And you vote against that. I'm to the point where it's like, you know what, I agree with individuals like Congressman Jim Himes, who just put out a comment today. He said, look, you know what, keep your moment of silences. Save your candles. I'm not going to go out there and light a candle. I'm not going to go out there and have a moment of silence anymore. I want to say enough is enough. We have to have an up or down vote on an assault weapons ban. A majority of the people in the state of Connecticut, by poll after poll after poll, says they agree with sensible gun control.
Which we have.
What we have now. But we have people in Congress and people in the state legislature who are against it. And it makes no sense. So it's like, you know what? We're in an election year. Stand up and be counted. Stand up and let me know how you feel on this topic, because if you're against gun control, I want to know so I don't vote for you. If you're against gun control, I want to know so I don't donate money to your cause. Because I think that is the most important issue that's happening right now in this country. It's not about the economy. It's about people losing their lives over maniacs who are able to purchase a gun. People who are against, like for instance, if you're in a domestic violence situation, and if you're a woman who asks for a TRO, which is a temporary restraining order, I think it's sensible for if you get slapped with a temporary restraining order and you own guns and you're accused of beating up your wife, you shouldn't be able to have a gun in your home. That's sensible, but we have people who are against that as well. So again, I want to know where you stand on that so I know whether or not to support you. For me, I don't know about other people, but me living in Greater Danbury as a person who used to live in Sandy Hook and as a proud former resident of Sandy Hook, I want to know where you stand on guns because for me, gun control is the most important topic in this country in this election cycle.
Well said. Now to the religion. And the audience knows I'm a devout Christian, but at the same time I recognize that Christianity has many faces. And there's one of those faces, the fundamentalist portion of Christianity, that I take to task. I take to task with the things that they say, and go as far as to say that when you take that side in that particular issue, it belies your Christianity. And likewise, there's a fundamentalist aspect to Judaism. There's a fundamentalist aspect to Islam. There are groups within all three religions, and the common denominator is being fundamentalists. These are folks that cause all the harm, all the horror, all the terrible things that happen in this world. They're the ones that stand behind wars. They're the ones that get involved in degrading and downgrading and criticizing other religions completely, and not recognize that the majority of people in all three of those religions are good, decent people, have everything in common. The religions have everything in common, and a lot of that good press, if you will, if I can use a term that you like, all the good press that they have gets damaged when fundamentalists within their religion take sides like this and to do things like this. Doesn't matter what religion you are. If you're a fundamentalist, you're wrong. You do bad things, and I cannot abide by you. And I think all three religions, the majority of them, Muhammad Ali, perfect example. Muhammad Ali, a Muslim, but a very great man for peace. He fought against and opposed a war for all the right reasons, and was a great representative for peace. That's the kind of person, to me, that represents Islam. Likewise, with the Christian faith, there's a lot of great folks that represent all that is good about the Christian faith. Likewise with Judaism, and that's my speech.
Right. Well,
continue.
No, it's amazing that now we have the Republican candidate for president, which is a complete embarrassment upon the whole country as a whole, that we have somebody such a whack job as Donald Trump, representative of a major party in this country, saying crazy things, saying that we should ban all Muslims from coming in this country because of the acts of a few nut jobs.
Well, here's the code. When they say he speaks his mind, what they're really saying is he allows me to have my racist, misogynist, anti-everybody pretty much viewpoint. He allows me to speak out and speak the same thing that he does. Because that's really all he does, is he allows his supporters to be as bad as they want to be.
And it makes his supporters say, hey, if he's saying that, then it's okay.
Absolutely.
But here's the same guy who will turn around and say that, hey, Muhammad Ali was a great man.
Yeah.
I want to attend his funeral. But you've been slandering Muslims right and left. Not just the entire religion as a whole.
Yeah.
Let's ban all Muslims from coming into this country. Or better yet, the poor judge who's involved in this university case.
The rape case.
Well,
yeah.
hey,
the case with Trump. With
Trump University. Well,
yeah.
we can't trust that guy because he's a Mexican. He was born in the United States.
Indiana. Shout out to Indiana.
The guy who shot up all the people in Orlando.
Yeah. American citizen.
American citizen.
American citizen. So he learned what he learned here.
And
in this great country of ours,
that type of rage, that type of insanity, that type of just hatred should be condemned universally, regardless of your political affiliation or your religious background. It should be condemned because that's not what we're about as Americans. But we have that tenor and we live in that culture where that stuff is like accepted. Whereas, could you imagine if, for instance, George W. Bush was still president, and you had a Democratic candidate who was talking in the same manner as Donald Trump?
Yeah.
What would happen?
They would lambast him.
Oh,
George Bush.
They went crazy over the Dixie Chicks.
Yeah, and George Bush, to his benefit, to his saying something good about him, because there were some good things about him. After 9/11, he came out and was very forceful about, we are not at war with Islam. Well, Islam is not our enemy.
And the hatred against Islam, as you remember with Timothy McVeigh and the Oklahoma City bombings, and the hours and the days after that horrific event, which was the biggest terrorist event that happened on our soil before 9/11.
Yeah.
Everything was like, let's go after the Muslim. The Muslim did it. The Muslim did it. The Muslim did it.
I remember, absolutely. And then it was a homegrown American Christian that did it.
Homegrown boy, white as the walls over here, and or for instance, the back to the person in Orlando. There's another person who was just arrested by the authorities. Probably about 24 hours after that event happened, who was stockpiled guns and explosives. He was going to go to a gay parade and just probably shoot people up. And he was, thank goodness he was caught by the authorities in time.
Well, they got the Christian, thankfully, or at least stopped the Christian guy in time. That probably would have killed more people.
Right, and it's just, it's sad. I mean, if you look at all the terrorist events that happened, I mean, I can't imagine.
And I say Christian in very small quotation marks, because I don't consider that Christian behavior or that person a real Christian.
We talk about these, radical Islam and all these extreme crazy things that have happened, but how many abortion clinics have been attacked? How many doctors who perform abortions have been killed by people who are doing this stuff in the name of their religion? And it's not Islam, it's Christianity. We're living in strange times.
Well, and yet these fundamentalist Christians and fundamentalist Muslims have that very strong common denominator of the hatred of gay people. They're both right there. They're both right there together. So they're very strange bedfellows.
And one of the big taboos, one of the things that have been not really talked about a lot within the African American community, is the discrimination upon people of color, of same-sex orientation within the African American community, which is something that's never been talked about rarely, which should be talked about a lot more. Because there's a huge homophobia within the African American community, especially amongst men. That's not I won't say the word fundamentalist, but a more traditional view in churches. And it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate because, again, we're just talking about hatred, and hate brings upon more hate. But back to the weapon. I feel that now, as I said a little while before, I'm done with the moment of silences. I'm done with lighting candles. There's no more need for that. We have to stop doing that. We have to yell and scream, enough is enough. Right now we're in an election cycle. We're electing people for federal office, Congress, some people for U.S. Senate, state Senate, and state reps. Right now, it's very important to find out and ask these candidates who are running for office and are incumbents, where do they stand in terms of gun control, especially in Greater Danbury, I want to know if William Duff agrees with Dan Carter. I want to know where all my candidates stand at, especially the people who are challenging these incumbents. And because I want to know if you are against gun control, if you're against these psychotic guns that are mowing down people, I don't want to give you a penny of my money.
These are folks
that
if they've given a seat in office, they could move to undo the gun control legislation that was put in place after Newtown, that in fact brought gun-related homicides in half.
Absolutely.
From 2012, then 2013 the law was passed. From 2012 to 2014, and the audience can help us with this one, how it's been in 2015, but gun homicides were half in 2014 of what they were in 2012.
And that gun control law did not go far enough, and there's a lot more we can talk about in other shows in terms of like more sensible gun control and actually more sensible revisions of our judicial system. There's a lot that can be done. But when you have the gun lobbyists who are has a very strong power in state legislatures and as well as the federal government controlling things, we have a problem. So I want people elected into office who say no to the NRA and say yes to the majority of the public that has been in poll after poll after poll. Majority of the people in the state of Connecticut wants sensible gun control. The majority of NRA members in polls say that they want universal background checks. And shame on Dan Carter. So what's the disconnect between... Again, shame on Dan Carter for agreeing with the gun lobbyists. He represents Newtown. I mean, how dare he? How many people do you think in Newtown are against sensible gun control in his district? I mean, is he for... obviously he's not for the people, and I know he's not running for office again, but where's William Duff stand on that? And another candidate... Well, moving forward, that's what we need to find out, and I encourage folks in the viewing audience to find out where their candidates stand on this issue, along with other issues, of course. But this is an issue which strikes very close to home. We're going to continue with the discussion. We'll fade out with it, but there's much more to talk about, and we'll have Al back on at another time to continue this discussion, and also even talk about race relations, which is something which is very important to both of us. But continue on. What else should we focus on in the election? I think that there's no other topic more important than gun control. I don't care about the economy or anything else. You know, I would rather pump gas at $10 a gallon and be alive than pump gas for $1.50 and somebody passes away because some senseless assault rifle is being allowed in this country. It's about life. It's about love. It's about accepting people. It's not about separating and hurting people. I want to build bridges. I don't want to build walls. And I want to live in a place of love and not of hate. This is the United States of America. And, we stand for acceptance and diversity, not hatred and insensibility. And this madness that's happening right now needs to stop. And we need people in Congress and in the General Assembly who will say, hey, enough of the NRA, enough of the gun control, represent the people, and give us sensible gun control legislature so we don't have any more AR-15 mass shootings. It makes no sense. This, my friend, is the ongoing discussion that'll be ongoing forever, so we have to be ever vigilant. Right. Thank you for watching Progressive Soup. I'm David Stevenson. Al Robinson, my esteemed guest, back in first place on the number of visits to the show. And there'll be many more. Thanks for watching. Enjoy it. And tomorrow, noon 30, Thursday, we're going to have another show with Joe Niola talking about immigration. Thanks for watching. Thank you.